Welcome to Gray Eminence Media. Let's get into it.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, and my fellow leaders, about a week ago, I stood on the other side of the world in Vietnam, on soil once bloody with war. And I met a small group of veterans, Americans and Vietnamese.
And shout out to Joe. At least he did one thing. Our trading status with Vietnam has been elevated to the highest tier. So shout out to him and his trade team. At least that's one one thing that he's doing.
Who wouldn't? And I watched the exchange of personal artifacts from that war, identification cards and a diary. It was deeply moving to see the reaction of the Vietnamese and American soldiers.
More like the Vietnam invasion. Wouldn't really classify it as a war.
Culmination of 50 years of hard work on both sides to address the painful legacies of war and to choose to work together toward peace and a better future. Nothing about that journey was inevitable. For decades, it would have been unthinkable for an American president to stand in Hanoi alongside a Vietnamese leader and announce a mutual commitment to the highest level of country's partnership. But it's a powerful reminder that our history need not dictate our future. With the concerted leadership,
our history need not dictate our future, but yet we talked about Vietnam, and then here we go with your vote to go to Iraq, because we all know that you were part of the crew that supported going in there. So this is great gravitas here.
Careful effort, adversaries can become partners. Overwhelming challenges can be resolved, and deep wounds can heal. So let us never forget that. When we choose to stand together and recognize the common hopes that bind all humanity, we hold our hands the power to bend that arc of history. My fellow leaders, we gather once more at an inflection point in world history, with the eyes of the world upon all of you, all of us. As President of the United States, I understand the duty my country has to lead in this critical moment, to work with countries in every region, linking them in common cause, to join together with partners who share a common vision of the future of the world, where our children do not go hungry and everyone has access to quality health care, where workers are empowered and our environment is protected, where entrepreneurs and innovators everywhere can access opportunity everywhere.
Yeah, we all know that all of these points that he's talking about, it'll never happen. It's just human nature. I mean, you're really gonna reduce child starvation to zero? You're really gonna create an environment for entrepreneurship in every country all over the world, and optimize that environment so that people can be creative and inventive? No.
Where conflicts are resolved peacefully and countries can chart their own course.
Conflicts resolve peacefully, and yet look at what we're doing in Ukraine, sending all that money, sending all that support. We've had volunteers from the U.S. and other Western European countries volunteer to fight, and there's been some that have died. I mean, we can go on, and so this is what the U.S. does a lot of the times. They say everybody go left, right, and then they'll go right. And it's not just the U.S. It's a bunch of countries that definitely do that. But I just hate it when I hear leaders say one thing and then do the opposite, right? Yeah, resolving conflicts peacefully. Coming from a U.S. president.
The United States seeks a more secure, more prosperous, more equitable world for all people, because we know our future is bound to yours. Let me repeat that again. We know our future is bound to yours.
Whoa, hold on. Hold on.
more prosperous, more equitable world for all people, where conflicts are resolved peacefully
Okay.
and countries can chart their own course. The United States seeks a more secure, more prosperous, more equitable world for all people
Hmm.
because we know our future is bound to yours. Let me repeat that again.
I get what he's trying to do here, right? Let's all join in together. But look, you don't need to play this theater of we're all in this together and let's all work together and our future is bound by your future. All this like esoteric talk. We all know behind the scenes when discussions are being had, when deals are being formulated between different countries, right? Whether that's deals on trade, military, economic security, things like that. Everybody knows that the U.S. is running it as we should, as we should. I'm never mad that we're in the number one spot. So what he should be saying is the complete opposite. Our future is not bound. Their future is bound by our future. I mean, the influence that we have all over the world. Fake news, fake elections, right? We see a lot of people contesting elections now in developed countries as well, not just in developing countries. We've seen what happened in Brazil when they had a similar rebellion happen there. I mean, I can go on and on and on about how the U.S. really dictates what goes on in the world and what our leaders do. Other leaders emulate, and those are just facts. So I don't like it when an American president says that, we're all uh, America's future essentially is bound by the world's future, which is actually the opposite. The world's future is bound to America's future and present, I would say. So, man, get this guy another script.
We know our future is bound to yours.
Nah,
And no
nah.
nation can meet the challenges of today alone. The generations that preceded us, organized this body, the United Nations, and built international.
Yo, how old is this man? John Kerry? Please, John Kerry, please retire. Please. Look, man, if I was his age, honestly, the fact that you're still even doing this, it's not even about the fact that, you love the US or you love America, whatever the case is. This guy, his job as a representative of the U.S. government, whether that's in an advisor role to the Obama administration, whether that's being a U.S. senator, whether that's being a part of the military, like there just needs to be a time when, for example, there are people that are too young to go into government, right? And we all agree that there shouldn't be 16-year-olds, although there are probably 16-year-olds that would do a fantastic job in Congress or on a city council level. Um, so we should have that same standard to people that are old, like, right? And especially for people that are just kind of floating around the U.S. government ecosystem, right? So this character he's always been in the shadows, right?
Financial
John
institutions and
Kerry.
multilateral and regional bodies to help take on the challenges of their time. It isn't always perfect. It wasn't always perfect. But working together, the world made some remarkable and undeniable progress that improved the lives of all people. We avoided renewal of global conflict.
These sick elites, these sick people, and this isn't just um I'm not just talking about Biden. He's obviously part of it, but he's, when he's talking about, oh, we've made so much progress in the world and we're doing so good and we've averted this crisis and, whatever he's going to say, it's a spit in the face to every single person alive who went through what happened a couple of years ago, right? I'm not gonna say it, but we all know what humanity went through a couple of years ago. And so it's really nasty when you have a US president here saying that we've made so much progress in the world and things are looking up when we've just got out of a horrible situation, which not just impacted um, physically of like what we can do, but the mental health of the world as well. So it's a really sick thing to say.
while lifting more than 1 billion people, 1 billion people out of extreme poverty. We together expanded access to education for millions of children. We saved tens of millions of lives would have otherwise been lost to preventable and treatable diseases like measles, malaria, tuberculosis.
That's true. That's true.
HIV/AIDS infections and deaths plummeted, in no small part because of PEPFAR's work in more than 55 countries, saving more than 25 million lives. It's a profound testament to what we can achieve when we act together.
And how many deaths have governments caused around the world when they act unilaterally and when they act multilaterally, right? So I mean, it's true. We got to give credit where credit's due, right? I mean, all those medical subjects that he touched upon, those are accurate. That's real. But you also have governments doing a lot of bad things, right? I mean, look what's going on in Europe right now. In Italy, you have a bunch of it's been all over the news, and I'm not talking about the migrant crisis a few years ago in Europe. I'm talking about like today. There's a bunch of military-aged African men that are essentially pouring into Europe, and Western governments have been complicit in keeping certain African economies stagnant. We can go over that subject in a later video. But when you have these Western corporations keeping these African economies stagnant and essentially in hostage, and then you combine that with tribal conflicts and then our military operations that we have in Africa right now. Yes, we do have ongoing military operations in Africa, and we also know that the Wagner Group has been active throughout Africa and committing all kinds of atrocities against the local people. But I say that to say all of this creates a crisis where you have a bunch of migrants pouring into Southern Europe. And so that's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. So let's not. No one's really fooled here by what he's saying. But let's continue on.
Take on tough challenges, and an admonition for all of us to urgently accelerate our progress, so that no one's left behind, because too many people are being left behind. The institutions we built together at the end of the Second World War are an enduring bedrock of our progress. The United States is committed to sustaining them. And this year, we're proud to rejoin UNESCO. We also recognize that to meet the new challenges of our decades-old institutions and approaches, they must be updated to keep peace with the world. We have to bring in more leadership and capability.
That's for
exists
sure.
everywhere.
Leadership.
Especially from regions that had not always
Get him out of
been fully
there.
included.
Get him out.
We have to grapple with the challenges that are more connected and more complex. And we have to make sure we're delivering for people everywhere, not just somewhere, everywhere. Simply put, the 21st century results
You good?
are badly needed. They're needed to move us along.
Oh my God.
That starts with the United Nations, starts right here in this room. In my address to this body last year, I announced the United States will support expanding the Security Council, increasing the number of permanent and non-permanent members. The United States has undertaken serious consultation with many member states and will continue to do our part to push more reform efforts forward, look for points of common ground, and make progress in the year ahead. We need to be able to break the gridlock that too often stymies progress and blocks consensus on the Council. We need more voices, more perspectives at the table. The United Nations must continue to preserve peace, prevent conflict, and alleviate human suffering. And we embrace nations stepping up to lead in new ways and to seek new breakthroughs on hard issues. For example, on Haiti, the Caribbean community is facilitating a dialogue among Haitian society. I thank President Ruto of I thank him for his willingness to serve as the lead nation of a UN-backed security support mission. I call on the Security Council to authorize this.
How many UN-backed missions are they going to send to Haiti? There has to be some kind of a UN industrial complex where people are, their pockets are being filled or something. Because, oh wow, you're going to send another UN security peace mission to Haiti. Like, we've done that a million times, and it's going to be led by the leader of Kenya. Great. That ain't going to solve nothing. I mean, just go ahead and research the history of Haiti and how Western countries, specifically France, have been going out of their way to keep Haiti down, as well as the U.S. government. We've also been involved in all kinds of activities in Haiti and making sure that that country doesn't get to a certain level of economic progress. So this is just all fluff. I mean, what is a UN mission going to do?
This mission now.
I mean, we all remember when Hillary Clinton and her gang went to Haiti and, you know, so-called did a little fundraiser.
The people of Haiti cannot wait much longer. The United States is working across the board to make global institutions more responsive, more effective, and more inclusive. For example, we've taken significant steps to reform and scale up the World Bank, expanding its financing to low and middle-income countries so it can help boost progress toward meeting the Sustainable Development Goals and better address interconnected challenges like climate change and fragility. Under the new president of the World Bank, change is already taking root. Last month,
I wonder if his teeth are fake or real.
I asked the United States Congress for additional funds to expand World Bank financing by $25 billion. And the G20.
And remember, the World Bank is there to continue Western hegemony and to control essentially the global South, right? Countries that are located in the global South. So the World Bank is just an apparatus that rich countries use to control less developed countries, right? And so that's why Biden is asking Congress for more funding, so that Western countries can continue to put a lot of these other much poorer nations into debt and keep having them on these really long repayment plans. I mean, China has done it as well. So I can't really say it's exclusive to the West, but we are pretty much dominant at that game compared to the Chinese when you think about how long we've been doing it and how we've been doing it through these international institutions.
We rallied the major economies of the world to mobilize even more funding. Collectively, we can deliver a transformational boost to World Bank lending. And because the multilateral development banks are among the best tools we have for mobilizing transparent, high-quality investment in developing countries, reforming these institutions can be a game changer. Similarly, we proposed making sure developing countries have a strong voice and representation at the International Monetary Fund.
Really?
We're going to continue our efforts to reform the World Trade Organization, preserve competition, openness, transparency, and the rule of law.
Oh, now they want to modernize and upgrade all of these international institutions, huh? Because I think people pretty much have caught on. I mean, obviously, the political class of all of these countries have caught on to these international institutions, and that's why you see protests against the WTO or the WHO in various countries, specifically in Western countries, because we all know the game that they play. And so now this is Biden and his gang of other Western leaders. This is their attempt to essentially appease, first of all, the political leaders in the global South that will use these institutions to keep their countries going. And then also to appease the common person, because I think the common person has finally caught on to a lot of these international organizations. And thank God, as Americans, we're not really into these international entities, and we definitely want to be able to maintain our own independence and not be binded by any of these international bodies, which for the most part we're not anyway. But yeah, this is just an attempt at appeasing the political class and like just the common person. There isn't going to be any real substantive changes, because if that were to happen, then they would lose more power and more influence if they were truly to modernize, quote unquote, these international bodies.
At the same time, equipping it to better tackle modern day imperatives
Calm down,
like
dude.
driving the clean energy transition, protecting workers, promoting inclusive and sustainable growth. And this month, we strengthened the G20 as a vital forum welcoming the African.
Get this, the G20, right? Now, this part is very important because, as we all know, BRICS has just wrapped up their summit. A bunch of African countries had joined, and the BRICS summit this year was hosted in South Africa. And I believe Saudi Arabia was invited to join. There's been a bunch of other countries, just essentially in the global South, that have joined BRICS. And so, you have Russia, you have Brazil, you have India, you have China. Yeah, and you probably will see a bunch of different Gulf states as well. And so this is a pretty powerful political and economic bloc in the world. And the equivalent, or the Western equivalent of this, is the G20. And so now the Americans and other Western leaders are a little bit worried now that BRICS is growing in influence and power, and we're all worried about the whole de-dollarization occurring. And so this is his time or opportunity to mention the G20. And so right after BRICS, well, of course, South Africa, right, it was always a part of BRICS. But however, this year they've ensured that a lot of African countries could join in BRICS as well. And so now that they've done that, now Biden here is going to talk about how they've invited the African countries now. So this is quite comical, quite comical.
African Union as a permanent member.
Oh, sorry, the AU.
We strengthened the G20 as a vital forum welcoming the African Union as a permanent member.
Oh, now you want to do it
By upgrading and
after BRICS. Interesting, my boy. Well, what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Is he crazy? Is he not? I don't know. He's a little loopy to me.